Where do you find project-based learning resources for administrators, visionary leaders? Where do you find project-based learning resources for teachers? Easy. We've made it super easy. You go to whatispbl.com. At whatispbl.com, it's the same place, but not the same resources. When you download the resources, you determine, like, am I an administrator or a coach, or am I a teacher? Like, you put that into the form, and then we send you different resources. You get like 5 or 6 emails from me that are automated, but they're written by me. And if you reply to any one of those emails, it actually comes to me because I'm a real person. Like, I'd like to help you. So go to whatispbl.com, get your download, whether you're an administrator or a teacher, and get specific resources differentiated for you, because that's how good learning happens. It doesn't come by this broad announcement of the truth, because you need it to apply to you specifically. So that's what we believe. So that's what we do. Welcome to the PBL Simplified Podcast. My name is Ryan Stoyer, and I'm your host. Also the CEO of Magnify Learning, where we bring PBL awesomeness across the country. And we're going to display some of that for you today in this PBL Showcase episode. In a PBL Showcase, we take a teacher, in today's case, it's going to be a group of teachers, a team, and they come in and they talk about their PBL unit. Because you need to see what good PBL looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like. Because you may have grown up in a traditional setting and done well in a traditional setting when you got into school and college. So you're wondering, like, what does good PBL look like? Or maybe you need an example for your staff. Like this kind of North Star to say, this is where I think we should go. I don't know how to get there yet, but what do you guys think? I think we should go this direction. That's actually a really powerful thing for a leader to say, like, to give an example and say, I think we can do this. It's empowering, and then you invite your staff in to say, how are we going to get there? This is when you should share with your staff, with all of your teacher friends, because these teachers get it. Like, they crushed it. They crushed the community partner side of this. They crushed the authenticity. They crushed the voice and choice. You're going to hear it throughout. It's a great example. I absolutely love doing the interview, and I think you're going to enjoy listening. Hey, PBL Simplified Podcast audience, we have another PBL Showcase today, and this is a repeat school, not a repeat grade level, but Dixie Elementary from Fayette County in Kentucky is doing some amazing PBL work, and we just want to make sure we highlight it. And there's a couple things I love about Dixie is we had the 3rd grade team on, as they got a ton of voice and choice about how they redo their playground. But they're seeing problems and saying, hey, what if our kids solve these? Which is a great idea. And if you listen to that episode, which you should go back and listen to that one, you'll know that was a grade level team. And again, today we have a team. So it's like whatever they're doing at Dixie Elementary, they're doing it as a team. So they're being collaborative, which is teaching their kids to be collaborative. So there's a lesson before we even get into the showcase that I want you to take away as either a visionary leader or a teacher that's listening, is being with a team, collaborating as adults, makes that a norm for your whole school, which includes your kids. And that's one way, before you even say the word collaboration, your kids know that you should be collaborating. So that's my quick intro. Let's jump into the PBL Showcase. And 2nd grade team, thanks for being here. This is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So we start everybody with the same question. Whether you're a visionary leader, a guest on the podcast, or PBL Showcase, I want to know what your why is. So we've got 4 teachers in the room that listening audience you can't see, but you're going to hear them. And if you could just give your name and then what is your why for education, that would be awesome.
I am Kelly Cohn. My why for education is just to help. I want to help everyone, and kids are just my area, and I want to help try to become very successful with each other. Hey, my name is Brittany Jones, and I'm a 2nd grade teacher here at Dixie, and my why is experiences. I had a wonderful 1st and 2nd grade teacher who I was able to loop with, and I can still to this day remember everything that she did for us, and I just want to create that for other kids too.
I am Tabor Allen. My why would be to persist. I grew up and my mom was a high school teacher. So I saw her go through obstacles and challenges that teachers go through every day. And I just see in that you keep going and you push through, and you do see confidence sparking kids, and you see they get to a place they need to be. So persisting and always going forward.
Hi, I'm Kate Iceland, second grade teacher at Dixie Magnet, and my why is believe. I feel like if you believe in the kids and they know that you believe in them, then they start to believe in themselves. And some kids don't have anyone at home to encourage them or believe in them. So sometimes you're the only person that is giving that child some encouragement and believing in them and letting them know that they can do it. They believe it, they can achieve it.
Oh man, we believe that stuff, don't we? Like, that's why we're educators. Like, that's why we would start with that question, because it puts us in the frame of mind of, like, we want to help. And I believe that education is the vehicle that can change the world, because it's generational. Like, as you affect one child, you're affecting a family that affects another family on down the line. So it's truly generational work. You're in the heart of it. You get it. Like, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir right now. You get it. So let's let you talk some more. So tell us about the PBL unit that you're here to share about.
So we wanted to make sure that each PBL unit that we've done this year, the kids are engaged in, and it's something that sparks their interest because it is student-driven, the whole idea of PBL. And like you said earlier, we do look at the school and think, what are some things or problems that we could fix here to have the students lead that? So as a group, we looked at our fire escape plan as a school and thought, this looks a little confusing. Maybe students kindergarten through second would have more trouble reading that. So that sparked our idea on fire safety. So our problem statement that we have come up with is many families do not have knowledge about fire safety and the damage that fire can cause, and that the community needs to become more aware of fire safety. Because we even found having conversations with students, they know stop, drop, and roll, but they didn't always know what to do in case like a fire occurred in their house. What do they do if they're upstairs? So we really wanted to dig deeper with that. So as the team and with the kids, we came up with our driving question, which was how can we as school safety advocates ensure that all Dixie Dolphins are knowledgeable if a fire were to occur? And that is what started it off.
I can talk about our entry event. We started reading the I Survived the Great Chicago Fire 1871 in each classroom. And we looked at a timeline of the Chicago fire, and every day we would read aloud another chapter of that book. And the book was great because it was a way to introduce that historical fiction, and we were able to hit a lot of our ELA standards within that book. And then we read that throughout the entire PBL project. And then we also, for the entry event, decided to contact our local fire department, and we took each class to tour it. So the firefighters, it's actually a historical location that has been around in Lexington for quite a while. They were able to see the ladder truck and then an engine. They were able to see the kitchen area, the living room where they sleep. They listened to the alarms that would signal if the firefighters needed to go on a call. They showed them where they would slide down the pole. They talked to the kids about fire safety. So it really engaged the kids and made them more interested in learning more about fire safety and connecting that with the book. They were really excited to share with the firefighters, like, hey, did you all know about the Great Chicago Fire? So it gave us a really quick in to get their attention and make them want to learn more about it. I think it's really ignited like a love to reading, like they were rolling out about those I Survived series, and like Chicago Fire and how it was back in 1871. The firefighters explained that this firehouse, we used to have horses here, and they related that to the Chicago Fire. I think the fire department was really impressed with the knowledge that they had. They're like, hey, where's the horses? And they're like, they're not here now, but at one point they did have paid, and they showed them like, this is where we kept it and dropped it down. So it was a really neat way of doing things. I also love that they were so ready to like talk to community partners already about what they know, what they learned, and that started that relationship with the fire department, which I know we'll talk about further with other questions, but they were excited about it. They were easy to talk to other people about it, and they really enjoyed it so far.
Yeah, that's so good. Like, I love that, again, you're teaching your kids, like young kids, right? Like, these are second graders that are seeing a problem, because a confusing like fire plan, that's not a good idea, right? Like that's not good. You should fix that, right? So yeah. I love that that they didn't just see that though, and they didn't just move on or complain about it. Like they're starting to solve that problem, and then you immediately connected it to standards. Like some people might look at a book and say, well, that's not an engaging entry event, but it is, because like it's standards based. And then you went to the fire department, like they connected literature to the real world and were fired up about it. Like, I don't care what you call your entry event. Like that's what we want to happen, right? Like kids are excited about learning. It's all standards based. Like, this is really fun. I'm excited we're going here. Where do we want to go next?
We were excited about it as well. When we were planning, like we had all these ideas around it, and it was like we were all like the Energizer bunnies, like and had like 2 Starbucks double shot and stuff. But then we had to had to like kind of help rein us in, like, you know, what some good ideas. But we were like bouncing ideas off each other and trying to write it down. And it was just, to me, it ignited like a love of us learning, you know, learning along with the kids and like showing them, hey, we're excited about this, and take like fire. And I think that's important, because if they see that we're excited about it and we're ready to move forward and continue with it, they feel that energy and they want to do the same.
And I think we got really excited when we experienced how many standards we could hit through this unit. Yes, because our group project, we were also able to go ahead and teach some measurement. So we pre-taught all the measurement skills we wanted the students to have. And then we actually, for our group project, decided to assign each class to a different grade level complex. And then we went into those complexes and we measured how many square feet it was from each classroom to the nearest exit. So the kids learned measurement, and then they were actually able to go all over the school and figure out which classroom had the quickest escape route and were there any obstacles that were getting in their way. And for our group project, we have created a new escape map that is more kid-friendly. And we're going to put those into posters and then present them to the grade level complexes, where each classroom is color-coded and has more simplified lines to where they can see the quickest escape route for themselves.
Yeah, I love it. So one, I just heard that your like math made it into your PBL, right? Like people say, well, I don't know how to get the math in there, but when it's so super authentic, right? Like it's in there, right? Like
yes, taught it during our math block. That is when we taught, you know, our PBL at that point.
Yeah, that's so perfect, right? Because then it's there's also internal authenticity there for a kid, right? Like if this is my day, it's not PBL over here and then something else. Like now I know why math is important, right? Because I'm helping the school, like I'm helping these 4th graders maybe, like figure out the best way to get out of the school if there's a fire. And I need math to do that. This is excellent. So I don't know, can we go to community partners next? What does that sound like? Like we talked about firefighters, but can we talk about that a little bit more for our audience?
Yes, we went to the Lexington Fire Department, the local one in downtown that was historic. I want to think in the early 1920. And they said that they had previously had horses there. So on the second level of the firehouse, they had a door that would open when they would throw out their hay and horses. And they thought it was really awesome because they talked about the horses in the book. Everyone was there. Yeah. They discussed the fire safety. They showed the alarms, sliding down the pole. Really impressed with that. And then we also have them coming back for our expo night to do the fire simulation building. And then they're going to bring their trucks and more equipment to showcase that.
Yeah. And like some of that's not new for an elementary school, right? Just like bring in first responders and, you know, go through the truck. But your kids are going to be so much more engaged because they've read about it. They've talked to the firefighters. Like they've got different questions. They have expertise to share, right? Like it's not just, oh, I want to be on the fire truck, which is okay. But they're going to be at such a different level as they engage with the firefighters now.
We were also, for their individual products, we got to split them up into groups based on their interests. In the group that I'm doing, they were able to choose different fiction or nonfiction books that have to do with fire safety. So we worked with the fire department, but then we also worked with our local library to collect a pretty wide variety of books that the students would be interested in reading. We had a few here at our school, but it was really helpful to be able to reach out to the actual public library. I actually have a parent who helped with that, and I sent her a ton of titles, and they delivered them to school. So that was just another community partner that we were able to pull in to help with this project.
I thought that parents didn't help us in education anymore. I thought they were.
This one did.
Yeah, that's right, because you can see it, right? Like you can see the purpose. Like parents don't want to, I mean, some parents do want to come in and just make copies, right? They just want to help at a like foundational level, and we love them. Some parents need to see the big picture of like how this affects the learning for all the second graders at their child's school. And then they're like, yeah, for sure I'll do that, right?
Yes.
Love it. Can you give us some student stories that came out of here? Like maybe, again, you can always change names, but are there some of your kiddos that like really jumped on board with this? Maybe they didn't before?
I do have some feedback from parents that I have gotten. They had been so concerned about our school escape plan that they have literally went home and talked about their escape plan at home and have established an exit route and all these things. And the parents are contacting you like, this is awesome. Thanks for, bringing this to our attention.
So now, you guys, I assume you're making some of this up because now you're talking about kids like talking about what they did in school with their parents at home.
That's always cool. Yeah.
But I thought that didn't happen. But again, right, like it's happening again. And I'm really sorry, but you don't get points on your standardized test for that. But you should. Like that's the real work, right? Is like your learners are taking what they're learning inside their classroom and applying it at home as a family. Like that's good work for the world. So I don't know if you get points for that. I'll try to create some points, like some component structure, right, that goes into that.
And I'll say kids are just excited to share what they've learned with other people.
Yeah.
So we have some kids that are creating presentations. And then we have other kids. My room is doing book trailers and they're using Adobe Spark to create, just like a movie trailer, but it's about a book. And they're excited to show that to the community. We have Miss Plumtrin. They are creating their own flyer activity book using coloring pages and word searches. And what's cool about her room is they're making this activity book for various audiences. So we know that, kindergartners aren't going to be drawn to learning about fire safety in a coloring book like fifth graders would.
Yep.
So just seeing the kids get excited and being able to use their talents, whether they love reading or art or technology. I know that we've had some kids that really like the podcast thing themselves. So when we did a PBL project, they were literally role-playing being on a podcast. It just kind of sparked interest in them of, it's real world. They're getting to experience learning by doing more authentic tasks.
And when they do something of their choice, they have more ownership behind it because they chose that. This is what they wanted to do. So they're going to give their all and try their best. And we've really seen that here.
Yeah, you all have put in a ton of voice and choice too. Like just to connect the dots for some listeners, it sounds like you took rosters and moved them around a bit, right? Based on, what students were most interested in, so that they could dive in further into some of those things. And again, for our audience, they're all nodding, right? So if you I hear it because I don't know, I speak PBL, right? But and you guys are crushing it, just to reiterate that again. But if you're a brand new listener to the PBL Simplified Podcast, one, I want you to go get a freebie. I want you to go to whatispbl.com. If you go to whatispbl.com, you can get a ton of resources that Dixie Elementary is already using, and you should too. But if you didn't hear it, like when we say, oh, this child was in so-and-so's classroom, it's not because that's who it was on the roster. It's because they went through, figured out like what the students how they could best learn, how they best wanted to apply, what their passion was to show their learning, and they redid their schedule to make those things work. That's a high level move that you all did. Can you speak to that for just a second? Because I could see a principal saying, I'm not going to make my teachers do that. Like, how did you guys even come to that idea that that's something you should do?
That's where we were all over the place. And we're like all these awesome ideas that they love to be part of. And we're like, okay, we got to at least break it down into 4 groups because there's only 4 of us that we can do. So we knew that when we went to the fire department, or when we go to the fire department, they give out activity books. And we thought, wow, that would be really cool to create our own. And so that's how my group stemmed from that. We thought, well, we had some working with preschoolers that are just drawing pictures and writing 911 with like a little cell phone so they can practice calling 911.
Yeah, and even my group, we're helping out her group, but doing our own individual thing with that. So we're working with text features and labeling parts of different fire, like extinguishers, trucks, So they've gotten to dig deeper and research about those things while also helping with Miss Combs's activity book, because they're going to make a page that goes in that as well. And it gets those standards. Yeah. And then it shares those standards. But I would say we really worked on not keeping it so separate, because that makes it more stressful, and really working together to try to combine it into our curriculum throughout the day. Some days we don't get PBL. Some days we meet up more times for it. So just, ebb and flow and what works for us, and we get it done together.
That's a great point, because it's not like you went to a PBL Jumpstart and then we said you've got to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to be successful. It was more like, here's the tools, here's the inspiration, here's a framework, and you go figure out what it looks like for not even just Dixie Elementary, but like Dixie Elementary 2nd grade, right? Like, figure out that framework that works for you and your learners. You guys did a great job of that. As you think about the planning and all your ideas, you get really excited. Were there a few things you do differently when you plan your next PBL?
School-wide, we talked about that we're going to actually teach the kids what PBL is at the beginning of next school year, so that the kids know why we are doing this and why the teachers think it is so important. And we think that will get more buy-in, and they'll be, able to communicate what is happening in their classroom better. And then we also are going to be surveying all the kids more frequently. So at the end of this school year, we will survey our 2nd graders, and we will pass that information along to 3rd grade, so that these projects are sparked by ideas that the kids want to learn more about.
I think that's super too, because this year was our first year implementing it at Dixie. So us as teachers try to come up with what we think our students would be interested in, but there's a wide variety of things that our students could be interested in, and they're all different. So really getting that student voice is something that we really want to aim for next year.
We'll definitely be integrating all PBL parts into the daily instruction for math, reading, writing, science, and we just feel like it's a lot easier to flow. You know what, like the first time we did our PBL, like we kind of struggled a little bit in like trying to, like, can't make it fit, it has to be flowing. And then the second time we did it, it was like everything just meshed together. We were sitting there, ideas were popping off of each other. Oh, yes, that fits this standard, or that fits the math standard. Oh, we could use this and read it. And so, like, it all just kind of came together. So, like, the first time, people don't need to be afraid, like, oh, it's not going the way I expected it to go, and it's going to be maybe challenging at the beginning, but just, keep trying, because, like, the second time we did it, we're like, oh, okay, it really flowed that time, as opposed to the first time. I hope it was, yeah. Yeah, first time, yeah.
Yeah, that's such an encouraging word, right? It's just like, it's not going to be perfect the first time. And technically, you shouldn't expect it to be. I know that you all operate with high standards. You probably did. But, right, and teachers do that, right? Like, if you're a West, your detail person is like, oh, we got to do all the things. But when you do that first one, the second one is just so much sweeter. Like, it flows. That's a great encouragement, which is kind of the next question is, like, what would you say to teachers and principals that are just starting PBL? Because we get those on the podcast. It's like, nowadays, if you want to study something, like, going to a podcast is a great way to get started. So we have a lot of listeners that are just starting out with PBL. That was a great segue into that question. Thank you. It's like, the first one's not going to be perfect, but it's worth the journey to keep going. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, when we were talking about this, and this is sort of a life motto I live by, but it's grace, gratitude, and grit. And I think that fits perfectly within the PBL process. Grace, it's not going to be perfect the first time, and it's probably never going to be perfect. There's always things that you're going to have to work on and try again the next time. So just being easy on yourself and knowing, like, it's not too much pressure. The kids aren't giving you that pressure. They're excited about it and they're enjoying it. So don't be so hard on yourselves as teachers or principals as well, because we're all going through it together. And then secondly, gratitude, being grateful for the process. Like, we're all learning something new every single day. And it's super cool that our school has implemented PBL through this, and it's something that we get to learn, and that the kids get to be a part of, and they're super excited about it as well.
Yeah, that's all.
Grit is just, keep working hard for it. Like, never give up. I think grit's so important. As educators, as students, anyone in this field, you need to have grit in order to keep going. And I think grace, gratitude, and grit all lead back to our why, and just makes a full circle.
Yeah, so good. And this whole conversation, but that kind of culminates to the idea of like how I know Dixie Elementary is going to be successful, because you're modeling the PBL process, right? Like you're modeling all the things that you want your learners to do. And when you do that, we have a saying, it's like your student culture will never rise above your adult culture. Your student culture will never rise above your adult culture. And as you guys are living this out in the adult culture space of collaborating, looking for places of voice and choice, using grit, right, growth mindset to work through this, your kids see that. Like kids are super smart. Like they see all those pieces. They see that you're excited about this, so they get excited about it. Like you're telling them kind of just with your process, like what it is that they should be doing, and they follow suit. That's super great advice for people. Actually, if you're new to the podcast, that's great advice. But if you're not new to the podcast, that's still great advice, right? So even if you're like a veteran PBLer, like there's good words of wisdom in there. All right, I have one last question for you. And that is, our big goal at Magnify Learning is to have 51% of schools using project-based learning by 2051. Because I think that's going to be my answer. But what do you guys think it would be like if the majority of students were graduating from an authentic PBL environment? What do you think the world would be like?
I definitely think that as they're graduating, you're going to see people going into the world ready to work with other people, and they're going to know how to get involved in their community and who can help. How can they help their community and who to reach out to help solve problems in their community. I also think, something that we're already seeing is that they're developing a lot more confidence when they're speaking in front of other people, and that is something that will take them far in life as they graduate from schools.
I think they'll be able to take a problem and work with others, and then just more critical thinking, more problem solvers out there, because just through this process, they do that from the beginning. We're able to come to them with a problem, and we're not even giving them what can we do. They're coming up with that all on their own already. So I know I hope that they'll be more self-sufficient, more motivated to go further and persist through instead of fall back and not want to do anything challenging that way. Because we have set deadlines, I feel like they'll be able to meet those deadlines like in life. Like, I've got a project coming up where it's what do I need to get done in the pace I need to get it done, because we need to try to finish by, a certain date. So I think from knowing that failing is okay, as long as you fix your mistakes and just keep going, you don't let that get you down. Persevere, yeah, which will do it.
That's so good. People are going to hire your kids, right? Like the kids are in your classroom right now, right? Like the second graders, like they're getting hired. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just what I think about, right? Because they can have whatever job they want. If you can work with others, right? If you've got grit, if you can see a positive outlook, if you can communicate with confidence, like you're winning, right? You're winning in whatever endeavor you want to go after. And you're giving them enough voice and choice that they're thinking about what it is, their passion is, and what their place in the world is, which is maybe the most important part that's coming out of your work. Is your kids aren't just going to step into the next space that's available. It's like, what do they want to do with their lives? What is their place in the universe to come and like make a difference? Gosh, this is exciting. We have to end the episode. Like it has to happen. But I feel like we could talk forever about this PBL unit and probably your next one. So we'll figure out ways to do that. Thank you so much for being on the podcast and sharing this. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. PBL Simplified audience, you just heard fantastic PBL unit from a great group of teachers that are in year one of PBL, and they've got grit, they've got grace, gratitude, and grit on their side. And it's a playbook for PBL going well, right? Because and I don't need to see their standards. I don't need to see their curriculum map. It's all there, right? All those things are there, but I don't need to see that to see success in the future, because they're modeling the process that they want their learners to walk down. And that's going to happen. That will happen over time. So super exciting. You need to jump in. You need to go visit, right? Like go find Dixie Elementary in Lexington, Kentucky. Reach out to me. I'm happy to set you up with a visit. Go see it in action. Go get some training. Like start down this path. It's 100% worth it. Because as you go down that path, you'll engage your learners, you'll tackle boredom, and you'll transform your classrooms. So go lead inspire. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the PBL Simplified Podcast. I appreciate you. I'm honored that you tune in each week. Would you please take 2 minutes to leave a rating and a review? When you leave a review, it lets the next person know that this is a podcast worth listening to. When they go into their player and search project-based learning and PBL Simplified popped up, when they see those reviews, they know that high-quality visionary leaders are listening. So they tune in too, and they can find their way into the PBL journey. Thank you so much for leaving a review. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you.